Just take that fucking traitor and get her out of my sight.
Movies are full of little details. Some of them are there just for style, but some are far more important than they first seem. Have you ever noticed how a tiny object or a line of dialogue
So you're talking to me?
introduced early in a film suddenly comes back later and changes everything? That's not coincidence. It's a classic storytelling rule called Chekhov's gun. It's a rule we have probably seen hundreds of times, but never realized was guiding the story all along. Look, Chekhov's gun look like simple and basic detail in movies, but trust me, for true filmmakers and cinephiles, it's the most influential storytelling rule used by many prominent filmmakers in our industry. See, Anton Chekhov, the Russian playwright who created this, once said, "If you show a gun on the wall in the first act, it must go off in the second or third." What he meant was simple. Don't put important details in your story unless you plan to use them later. In filmmaking, this is a powerful tool. It creates setups and payoffs. When a movie plans something early on and then brings it back later, it feels natural, even satisfying. Our brains like to connect dots, and when films use Chekhov's gun well, those payoffs feel inevitable and unforgettable. For understanding more interestingly and deeply about Chekhov's gun, let's see the examples of Chekhov's gun from greatest movies ever made. And this storytelling rule is so common that you can notice these details in every other films. Take Parasite. Early on, the Kim family is gifted a strange stone, a scholar's rock, that's meant to symbolize wealth and prosperity. It seems random, almost like background detail, but by the end, that exact stone becomes a murder weapon during the brutal basement attack. What started as a harmless symbol of a fortune transforms into a symbol of destruction. That's Chekhov's gun, a detail set up early that explodes later in the story. In No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh uses a cattle captive bolt pistol, a weapon usually reserved for slaughtering livestock. When we first see it, it feels bizarre, even out of place. But then we watch Chigurh use it over and over in terrifying ways. Its early introduction sets the tone of his character, cold, methodical, and inhuman. The weapon itself becomes a symbol of his personality. That's Chekhov's gun. Not just moving the plot, but building the most terrifying character in films.
Would you hold still, please?
In Inception, Christopher Nolan gives us one of the most famous examples, Cobb's spinning top, introduced early as his totem. It's explained as the one object that can tell him if he is in reality or still dreaming. We see it throughout the film, but by the very last scene, Nolan leaves us hanging. That one small object set up in the beginning holds the emotional weight of the entire ending. Without it, the movie's final movement wouldn't hit nearly as hard. Quentin Tarantino also loves Chekhov's gun. In Pulp Fiction, we get the gold watch. Christopher Walken delivers a long, oddly specific monologue about how it was passed down with generations. At first you wonder, why do we need to know all this? But later, that watch becomes the reason Butch risks his life by sneaking back to his apartment. And because of that choice, we get the unforgettable pawn shop sequence with Marcellus Wallace. A single object set up early drives one of the most chaotic and iconic scenes in the film. And one of the most legendary uses of Chekhov's gun come from Jaws. Early on, Chief Brody warns about the oxygen tanks being dangerous.
This is compressed air. Well, what the hell kind of a knot was that? You pulled the wrong one. You screw around with these tanks and they're gonna blow up.
The camera lingers just enough for us to notice. Then in the film's climax, Brody shots one of those tanks inside the shark's mouth, blowing it to pieces. What looked like a background prop becomes the ultimate solution. That's Chekhov's gun at its absolute best. So, what makes Chekhov's gun so powerful? It's about trust. When a filmmaker shows us something, we expect it to mean something later. And when it does, it feels satisfying, like the story kept its promise. From the stone in Parasite, to the cattle gun in the No Country for Old Men, to the spinning top in Inception, the gold watch in Pulp Fiction, and the oxygen tanks in Jaws. These aren't random details, they are carefully planted seeds that grow into unforgettable payoffs. So next time you're watching a good film, keep an eye out of those little details, because if you notice something that stands out, chances are it's not there by accident. It's Chekhov's gun, just waiting to go off. If you like this, make sure you like and subscribe this channel. Till then, keep watching films, keep inspiring, keep learning, and enjoy the greatest frames of cinematic beauty.